Hello, this is my video about my son's birth. So he was born in 2010, and I'm going to be reading off something that I wrote probably about a month after he was born. I just tried to write it down so that I wouldn't forget. At this point I'm realizing when I read this, I did forget a few things. So I'm just gonna try and casually read it without it sounding too much like I'm actually reading out loud something. But here goes. So he was born. Actually, I'll just start with I woke up that day at around 7:30 in the morning, and I had something that felt like contractions. I wasn't quite sure if it was that. It kind of felt, it was a tightening. It didn't feel, like what you hear of what contractions are. So I decided to start timing it, and at that point they were coming every 8 minutes, and they were lasting about a minute to a minute and a half. So, at that point I had heard, that there is such a thing as false labor, that, sometimes you get false labor. I don't know. So I thought, I don't know if it's the real thing. So I also, you hear that sometimes it can take a long time before, in the first birth, before anything really happens. So I told my husband, just go to work. It was the end of month time of the year, and that usually is typically the time of the month that my husband is the most busy at work. So I said, okay, you go to work, and then if it picks up, then I'll call you and you come home. He had suggested something very, very smart, which in the end was the right call, but he suggested, how about he stays, and if it stalls, then he'd go to work. And that was a good idea, because things did not stall. Things progressed. He actually went to do a few errands, because we were short a few things. We weren't 100% ready. So he went, and during that time, while he was away, my contractions started, being, I guess, more intense, or they went from 8 minutes apart to 5 minutes apart. I was doing pretty well. I was counting all my contractions on this app, which I can't find which one it was. It was a different phone. I wish I had the same one, but I found something similar, and I'm going to be using it. Maybe I'll, I don't know, actually. I probably won't. There's a whole ton of them that you can find, contractions, timers. Anyways, so I've been using that during that time. What did I say? I was, thinking of all my hypnobirthing stuff, trying to stay calm and trying to breathe deeply. And then I put on the CDs for the hypnobirthing. Can't remember what it's called, but this lady just reads those scripts, and just it's meant to calm me down, and it's got this music. It's not really music, more than it is more like ambient sounds. Anyways, and she says things like, my birth will be easy because I'm so confident, things like that. So I was trying to keep that in mind, stay positive and whatever. Now I'm talking about how I time my contractions. I have so much. And that's what I liked about the app. Back to the app, is that as I was like, you're basically just typing or like hitting start or whatever, and then stop when your contraction is over, and then it counts how long the contraction is, and it counts, the intervals as well. And what I liked about that is I could see that they were pretty steady at a minute and a half, duration wise. So there's a counter on it that you can see. It just counts. It's typical as a timer. And so I knew that if I just sort of focused on what I was going through, and just sort of calmly thought about it and looked at the timer, that once the 1.5 minutes came, that it would be, I'd be comfortable again. So somehow that worked for me. Yeah, just thinking of, it's going to be over soon. It's going to be over soon. And it really wasn't that painful. It's just uncomfortable. It's like when your eye is twitching on its own and you can't control it, and it's just kind of weird, Well, in that case, it's your whole belly that's just, your whole abdomen, it feels like, that's contracting and you can't control it. So it's a little freaky. It's not exactly comfortable, but I wouldn't say it was painful. At least that's how I experienced it. So what else did I say in there? I emailed my doula at that point and just told her what was going on, and she told me I should have a nap because she said, it's probably going to be long and whatnot. What did I say after that? That's what I just mentioned. So once my husband came back, I told him, no, this is the real deal. Don't go anywhere. You're staying here now. So we had a very small house, and we had sort of planned on how things were going to be laid out, in the living room for the birth. So he moved things around out of the way, put the pool down, and started setting it up, filling it up with water. I think at that point it was probably 11 to 12. Excuse me. My midwives had told me to call them when the contractions were 4 to 5 minutes apart. I think that's what they had said. Is that what I say in here? Yeah, I think that's what I said. So by 1 p.m., I was still doing very well. I was still just concentrating on my contractions, and at that point, though, it was a bit too intense. I couldn't help my husband to move things around anymore. Yes, I was moving things around with him, apparently. And so at 1 p.m. they were 3.5 to 4 minutes apart, and then I realized, oh my goodness, I'm supposed to call these people and tell them to come over. So I called the doula, called the midwife. Come on over. I think it's gonna happen. I mean, I'm 3.5 to 4 minutes apart, so you should probably head on over. So very shortly after, my midwife just happened to be close by, because we lived close to a big shopping mall, and she actually was shopping there. So she came over, and she decided, I've asked her, and she decided to check me. They were about 3 minutes apart at that point, and I was already 7 centimeters dilated. So I couldn't believe it, like how comfortable I had been the whole time. And I was already this far along. So, what did I say? I asked the husband to call the doula. Oh, he called the doula, I guess. While the midwife helped me to go into the pool, which we were just starting to fill up. And so I wasn't in the pool probably for the whole transition part of the birth. The part that's supposed to be so intense that you're just telling people you're giving up and you want to yell at them, and the typical part that they show you in movies, where you're just screaming and whatnot. I was still pretty calm. I think that being in the water at that point really helped. The water really sort of took the edge off. I felt like it was really, really effective for pain. Well, for pain, just like it was just all so much more comfortable. And the whole time, all I was concentrating on was, the contractions, and I was asking. I don't think I asked anybody, but I think that they understood. Like, when I was in a contraction, I was just being quiet, and it's like people don't talk around me so that I don't focus on what they're saying. It was really a thing of focusing on the contraction. And what I would focus on was, just the feeling that I was getting, but also sort of thinking, like of relaxing physically so that things would, make space for the baby to come. And I was just sitting there in the pool, and everything was going well. The only thing, though, is at that point, again, we're in transition. I had seen online a whole bunch of, well, not that many, but I had seen it in a few instances. When the baby is born in the sack, I think that's how you call it. I think there's a term for it. I can't remember what it is. But I had seen the one birth where this lady gives birth and the whole bag comes out, sort of. The baby comes out in the bag. And I started getting distracted by this thought of having to push out a giant beach ball full of water, And so when, there was, a lot of pressure, and I'm thinking, I'm pushing what out, soon? Probably without me mentioning that, the midwife actually said, your waters haven't broken yet. Would you like it if I broke your waters? It's potentially going to speed things up and blah, blah, blah. Just thinking of getting rid of that pressure and that big beach ball with the water in it, I just gave in. I just, asked her to do it. So I had to come out of the pool to do that, and how did I say? She kept telling me it was going to break soon, probably, but I don't know. I just didn't feel like it was ever going to happen. So we did it. I had to come out of the pool, but unfortunately, that's when things sort of changed. The heartbeat, the baby's heartbeat was slowing down a little bit. So at that point, they were a little bit more worried, and they decided, I'm not going back in the pool to give birth. We're just gonna get the baby out now. So, I thought it's okay, as long as I stay calm and keep doing what I'm doing, things should go well. And it's funny how, I had so many things that I was categorically, I don't want to push on my back, I don't want this, I don't want that, whatever. And at that point, I don't even know what time it was at that point. I guess it would have been around 3:30 or 4, maybe? Yeah, maybe 4. 4:30. I guess if that's when I started pushing, it would have been actually closer to 5. I don't remember. I didn't note it. I'm very sorry. All I know is the baby was born at 6:20 p.m. and they told me I pushed for an hour and a half. So do the math. I'm sorry. I'm very bad at math. But anyways, back to that. At that point, I didn't really care anymore. I just wanted to, do what was best for the baby and just really sort of focus on the task at hand. They had me try that little stool that you sort of sit on, very uncomfortable. Then they asked me to be on my back, which I did, but I didn't really care anymore. It didn't matter. I pushed. I was very concentrated, I'm saying. Then I felt my husband ended up, I was on my back in the living room, and my husband ended up sort of sitting just sort of behind me, and I was, my head on his legs, I suppose, sort of like this. And he wasn't saying a thing. It's funny because at some point, some of the doula and the midwives, they were encouraging him to, speak softly to me or massage me or whatever. And he was like, I don't know, I don't think she wants that. And, he actually tried just to sort of make them happy. And I said, shut up. No, I didn't yell. But I was like, no, that's okay. You don't need to do that. I don't want you to do that. I'm concentrating, basically, That's like anybody talking, anybody doing something around me, it was like they were distracting me from my concentration, which I believe was, keeping me painless. Like literally when something was happening and if I was distracted, I could feel sort of this overwhelming out of controlness take over me. So that's why it was, okay, concentrate and then you guys shut up, leave me alone kind of thing. So I even remember actually, I was doing well otherwise, like between contractions, two things. Well, one of the students showed up a little later, student midwife, and I had a contraction when she came in. She was like, "Oh, quiet, okay, everybody, how's everybody doing?" She sat down, and the contraction went away, and I just smiled at her like, "Hello," She's like, "Oh, you're doing well. That's cool," And then although once transition came, I remember thinking that I wanted to stay. Like if I got a chance between contractions, I wanted, like, as I like to stay humorous. I don't know. I like to giggle a lot. I like to keep things light. I like to, I don't know, when it's a serious situation, I like to just try and lighten the mood that way. So I'm thinking, okay, if I get a chance in between two contractions, I'm just gonna say, okay, I get it, this is transition, this is the part where I'm supposed to say I want to give up, isn't it? I was like, I totally get it, this is it. And I never got to say it. It was too intense. It was just rolling one into the other, So that's something I wanted to mention. What else did I say? And then all I'm saying here is I pushed for an hour and a half. For an hour, I say here. I thought it was an hour and a half. Maybe I was wrong when I wrote an hour. I don't know for sure. Anyways, I pushed. They kept saying, did I mention that in here? I didn't. What I remember from the pushing is, pushing really hard, and especially on your back. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm very, I have this big belly, I have the big chest, and I'm on my back, so I'm like completely like stopping the air from going in, and I don't know, it's a very, very difficult thing to do. You're pushing somebody out of you, right? So I was pushing and pushing, and then they said, all right, pushing for I don't know how long, but it felt like, like a long time. And they're like, all right, good job, you're doing great, you're pushing, like the baby's almost a third of the way out. I'm like, what? Only a third of the way? Don't even tell me that. I don't want to know. Just tell me keep pushing until it's done. I don't want to know that I've only got a third of the way, on a progress, that I've only progressed to a third of the way. So it felt like it must be more than that. I can't believe it. So it took much longer than I thought, and it was a lot harder than I thought it would be. But it happened. The other thing that they said during pushing is, and I had heard of that, the ring of fire, they call it. You're supposed to feel like you're gonna, like it's burning and like you might tear and whatever. I did not feel that at all. The thought that I kept in my head was something that I had read, I think in the hypnobirthing book that I had or something, but the feeling you get like if you're sitting on your hand for a long time and then you kind of lose the feeling. Well, the sort of the pressure that you're getting from the baby down there, part of it sort of makes you not really feel everything. So I figured that could have been the reason why I wasn't feeling the ring of fire, or any other reason really. I don't care. The person, the midwife, the way that it worked for that birth. I had my own midwife, which was, assigned to the mommy, and then there was the midwife who was assigned to the baby. And the baby midwife kept saying, push through the ring of fire. I know it burns, you gotta keep pushing, blah, blah. And it was just so bothering me. My husband says that's the only time where I spoke loudly / almost yelled was when I couldn't take it anymore. I just completely annoyed with her mentioning that when I wasn't feeling it. So I stopped, just to tell her, don't talk to me about the Ring of Fire. I am not feeling it. I'm not feeling that. So don't talk about it. It's okay. I'm pushing. I'm just pushing. I'm not being stopped by the Ring of Fire. I'm not feeling it. Please don't say that anymore. So I was like, okay. And I had been, worried previously about tearing during birth and during the pushing stage, and that's something else that I was thinking of a little bit during the birth, during labor and whatnot. And this is what I had heard, is that if you tear, it's potentially better than an episiotomy. You heal better or whatnot. Anyways, I kind of gave myself the if I tear, I tear talk inside of my head. And I did not tear at all, actually. So, and the baby actually came out this way, with its arm and the head at the same time. So how I didn't tear, I have no clue, but I didn't. I think the water must have helped quite a bit. Just, when you're, it's just softening everything, right? So that would kind of make sense. So, what does that say? No tearing. So the baby weighed 7 pounds and 13 ounces. That's another thing that I'm saying actually here, which is I had gained 65 pounds during my pregnancy, which, they were all worried, that I had gained too much weight and that the baby would be big. And really, 7 pounds, 13 ounces is quite normal. So it really didn't have anything to do with how much weight I had gained. So I thought this was worth mentioning. I was 222 pounds the day I gave birth. At least I think that's the day I gave birth. I didn't really keep track of when it is that I had last weighed myself, but I weighed myself shortly after birth, and I was down to 195. It was really depressing. I mean, I started at 157, so that was more than I had ever weighed. But it all, it came down. It all went away eventually. Probably took a good year, but I was back to 157 eventually. So. And then I'm talking about the baby. As I wrote this like a month into it. It really, really changed me, big time, having a child. I didn't realize the full extent of how it would. I mean, I was a freelancer, contractor before, and the kind of job that I do, requires that you do a lot of networking just to keep getting contracts. And once that happened, it was like, I gotta find something else to do. I gotta find another job. It's not gonna work. I cannot go back to work. I don't know. I just wanted to spend, all my time with him. It's just, it's a life-changing experience. It's very nice to have a little person like that to call your own, and to just see grow and just experience all the new things that they're learning about. Every day is a new thing. They eventually smile and giggle, and then they start grabbing stuff and whatnot. And they don't sleep. It's lovely. Mine didn't sleep for a long time, but that's another story. I suppose this was supposed to be only about the birth. But yeah, all in all, I'm pretty happy with how the birth went. That being said, I would really like it if this time a few of the things that happened last time were to be a little bit more in control this time. So I'm really trying to avoid any intervention at all. I'm gonna try and not get my waters broken this time around. Try to let, nature do its thing. Excuse me, nature do its thing. And hopefully I can give birth in the water this time, and hopefully, I don't need the IV and the antibiotics this time, so that's awesome. It's just one less thing to worry about. And yeah, I'm hoping that hoping not to have to push on my back again, because that's also one thing that I suspect was something that was bad for my SPD, because literally, my back, and these are my legs, the midwife literally was pushing on me like this. The baby midwife, not the mommy midwife. And I'm assuming somebody else was pushing the other leg, but, it's literally physically separating my legs and pushing on my ligaments the wrong way. So it would kind of make sense that she aggravated my problem. But in the end, it was to get the baby out, and the baby was safe and healthy, and so was I. And I know that it hurts at first, but things get better, and I'd say my little boy is definitely worth it. I love him to bits. So that's about it for now. How long is this? 27 minutes, so I better stop recording. I don't think this one I'll edit at all. I realize it's a long video, and personally I prefer seeing videos that are shorter. It just takes too much of your day. What if you want to see, like 15 videos like this, and you're losing your day on YouTube? So that is it. Alright, thank you so much for listening. If you've been listening to this whole thing, hey, tell me in the comments. And I'll be very proud of you for listening to the whole thing. But yeah, you can leave comments, questions, whatnot, in the comments below. And again, thank you for listening, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.